Well, good morning, everybody. This is week number 4. Jim Gonzalez, EDI Support LLC. Of course, if you're following this and you're watching this, you already know who I am. You know I've been doing this for a long time. First thing that I have to say, because of course, as a parent of 3 girls, I am celebrating the first day of school. I got one that's already graduated college, going to be going back for a master's. I got 2 that are one's in 11th and one's in 8th grade. So, and my wife's a teacher. So everybody is back. So all the parents out there, congratulations. Summer's over. You've survived. You've made it. Kids are back in school. We can all be proud of ourselves. So anyways, I had to share that just because, it's what I do. So one of the things that we're going to talk about here, the main thing we're going to talk about is week number 4 is things you cannot miss when migrating from one EDI software to another. There's a lot of things that you cannot miss. The big things that you cannot miss is project management is probably the biggest when you're dealing with moving from one system to another or adding a trading partner or doing any of those things. And most people are like, what do you mean project management? Well, what I mean by project management is you have to bring all of those details as to what your current system is over into a new system, whether that be an on-prem, outside management, any of those type of things. You have to make sure that you take care of that. You have to make sure that you go through and you list off all of the trading partners, all of the things that you have going on. So one of the things that we'll go through this first thing is reasons why companies move from one EDI software to another. There's a whole list of things that are out there. A lot of the things that I commonly hear is customer service, price, responsiveness, those type of things. So if you're lacking in customer service and you're not getting the responses in a timely manner that you need to, most people start getting frustrated. Whether it's dealing with EDI software, an EDI provider, or both, they need that customer service. They need the responsiveness. Because in EDI, if you're not getting that responsiveness, you're going to open yourself up for issues and chargebacks and all that wonderfulness. And the other thing is lack of capabilities. So say you bought your EDI software, and some companies are like this. They bought software that's on-prem 20 years ago. It never thought of API or any of those type of things. So what you have is you have issues and you have things that occur that come up. So those things that occur and those things that come up are API. Hey, we want to connect to a new ERP, WMS, TMS system, and the only way they allow us to do that is via API. If your current software or your current provider doesn't handle that, that's an issue. You're going to run across that problems, and you're going to start doing research as to, do you do an add-on to do API? Do you look to a whole new system? Do you move to a EDI service that does that for you, or an API service that does that for you? That's up to you, but that's a big deficiency. Maybe you're dealing with SQL databases, and all of a sudden you want to move it to SQL in the cloud. Because you're going more virtual with your company, with your tech stack, as they call it. If your EDI software doesn't do that and it doesn't make that connection, well, there's an issue. So there's a lot of things and a lot of reasons that come up. And like I said, flexibility, being able to handle what you're looking to do, being able to take you in a direction that makes sense. Data used to be expensive. Let's just be honest. Processing power used to be expensive. When the cloud came about, a lot of people were like, I'm never going to move to the cloud. It's way too expensive. All of these things. Well, all those prices have reduced. Some of your EDI providers haven't reduced their pricing because essentially they still have you believing that everything costs them X when you signed up with them 10, 15 years ago. So What we have here is, of course, we got a comment. Any knowledge sources to learn API integrations with EDI. So, to answer your question, there's not a lot of knowledge sources out there when it comes to API integrations. There's some that we've posted and some that I've shared. You can go out to Udemy. You can go out and learn it through our Discord channel or server, however you want to call it, where you can post those questions and ask the questions on an API. So if you give specifics as to what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, an API is really a line of communication from one server to another server. That's merely all it is. And then you exchange data via XML or JSON, depending on your actual type of connection. So hopefully that answered your question a little bit. So like I said, there's resources that are out there. There's ones that you can Google or you can Bing or whatever search engine you use to look up. And if you hit me up directly, shoot me an email, jim@edisupportllc.com. I'll give you all those resources that I have that might be able to help you out. But yeah, typically API, understanding it, they're direct to who you're trying to make that connection. So if you're trying to connect to NetSuite, you go to NetSuite, NetSuite will have their information as to how to make the connection to the API and all their definitions and all that wonderfulness. So hopefully that answered your question. But back to what we were talking about and what we're dealing with is moving from one EDI service to another or one EDI software to another. When you're looking at SQL and you're looking at databases and you're looking at things that could be migrated from on-prem to a cloud, you have to make sure that your EDI software can follow suit with that. You also want to make sure that it's not sunsetted, because if it's sunsetted, there's going to be an issue. With that sunset and those issues that occur, well, guess what? If you don't have access to the back-end programming, you're not going to be able to resolve it. So if you can't resolve it, then what's going to end up happening is you need a new software, or you need an add-on, or you need some way to get that problem solved and taken care of. So if it's sunsetted, you're running at a risk and all of those things. All right. I am a tester in EDI, but I want to learn mapping as well. From where I can learn? So when it comes to mapping and it comes to those type of things, what I typically tell people is look into understanding how to work with relational databases. So look at how to do queries with SQL or any of those type of things. So Microsoft has a whole slew of things for learning SQL, interacting with databases and doing those type of things. The reason I tell you to do that is because once you get that into your mindset of how it's going to work out and how it's going to go ahead and build upon your knowledge with working with databases, you're going to also learn how to conform and how to change information and how data works. Okay, so any database. The other thing that I also suggest is learning programming languages. Go out there, learn Groovy, learn C++, learn any of those, because it's going to start to make you understanding logical thinking if you're not already a logical thinker. So mapping, you're mapping from one source to a target. You're going ahead and you're writing rules and conditions and all of those things to change values. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of tidbit on what you need to learn there. It looks like everybody is asking. Here's another one. Any free source to learn EDI mapping? There are some, but not really any that I typically recommend. Again, you're going to have to pick the knowledge of somebody that's been doing mapping and handling mapping and doing all those things. And mapping is different depending on the software that you're utilizing. If I'm using Boomi, Boomi is not the same as far as mapping. The high level is, but the exact mapping is different than it is with ECS and Delta. So in the Delta mapper, it's different. Delta mapper is closer to like TIE Kinetics with their smart bridge and that kind of stuff. So there's some that are similar, but they're different because of writing the scripting, the code, all of that kind of stuff. If you're not even using a built map solution and you're trying to do it through coding, again, programming, learn programming, understand that, do those type of things. So when it comes to free resources and you're learning mapping, you can go out to the Boomi site. Boomi has their own training and all that kind of stuff. You can learn it and you can do a little bit of hands-on inside of there. But typically to really learn mapping, you have to have somebody hold your hand, take you through it, and just give you the insight of that particular software that you're utilizing. We can get you generic information, but then again, you might be lost when you get into actual mapping with Seaburger or any of these other pieces of software that are out there, Just Transform. Anything you can think of, it might be a little bit different. So if you have somebody walk you through specifics, now you can relate those specifics to when you use a different tool. Hopefully that helps. Back to topic. So topic, things you cannot miss when migrating from one EDI software to another, reasons why companies do it, main reasons, again, customer service, needing features, any of those type of things. Costs could be another reason. Maybe you're paying currently by transaction and it doesn't make any sense because your bill is really high, so you want to curb those costs and make it per connection. Or you want to make it where it's not per connection and it's an overall license. I don't know. Those are the different reasons when it comes to pricing that you look at, that you start to understand all the different solutions that are out there. Step-by-step process to follow during EDI migration. Of course, you have the planning. You have to have internal evaluations. You have to choose the right EDI provider. You have to define the roles, responsibilities, and you have a phased, maybe you have a phased approach where you do 1 to 5 trading partners, top priority first, and then you do 6 to 10, and then so on and so forth. Or maybe you say highest revenue, or whatever it may be, highest document volume. But you figure those things out. And if you don't know how to do that, you reach out to somebody like an EDI support LLC, and we give you that. And we help to base that knowledge on what that step-to-step process looks like. Talking with the different departments, doing your migration, handling the maintenance, handling the setup. What are some features that you've been lagging in your other one? Maybe you didn't have capabilities of email notifications. So you start planning out what your priority list of trading partners is, also what your priority list of things, that pain points that you need to take care of. I always tell people, listen, you can migrate your existing holding system of how your business process works. But then on top of that, let's take care of some of the pain points if we can out of the initial implementation. If there are a lot larger of issues, maybe we make that a secondary step. Maybe the main focus is, hey, we got to get you off of the sunset system as soon as possible. So we got to focus on mimicking what you're doing currently. So we get a list of your trading partners, a list of the documents that are being handled for each of those trading partners, the versions. We pull together the mapping guidelines. We do all of those things to pull all of that information together. So now we have essentially a scope of work or a statement of work of what are we currently doing, what do we need to take care of, what steps, how many steps are we looking at doing? Is there a step 1 of the initial phase, step 2, step 3, step 4, and so forth? All right, so what is a typical timeline for a migration? How long should it typically take if there's a such thing? So with that, every EDI system, there's not a typical timeline. You can make a typical timeline based off of number of trading partners or number of maps that you need to create, number of connections that you need to do, all of those things. So I can typically, when I do a migration and I'm talking to people, I give them a typical basis. Okay. So typically, if you're looking at 1 to 5 trading partners, 20 maps, I would typically say that would be 30 to 60 days for a migration. Okay. Other clients and other systems, and depending on your system that you're migrating from and to, it could be longer than that for just 5 trading partners. Again, you have to pull all of the information together, look at what you're doing now to what you're trying to do, and understand the product you're moving from. So if you're not the subject matter expert on that product you're moving from, you try to find one or as close to one as you can. And then you have a subject matter expert of where you're going to. So you need these things to actually look at the full statement of work, look at the full scope, bring all these things together. And I'm going to tell you, most salespeople don't understand that because they've never done it. So when you talk to EDI Support LLC, guess what? We're not sales. I'm the salesperson. I'm the one talking to you. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've done hundreds, if not thousands, of migrations. I know I've been involved with thousands over 25 years. There's been a lot that I've been pulled into on. So whether it's one trading partner or 100 trading partners, you figure out the full statement of work, the document flow, all of those things when you're doing a migration, because guess what? As long as you're not changing ERPs, WMS, TMS, and you're just pulling out an EDI system and plugging another system in, you already know the business process. If you're switching it up, well, now guess what? You have business processes you need to figure out. And that's not my job. It's not my team's job to figure out your business process. My team's job is to automate that and to get that system up and running how you wish you would like it to run. There might be caveats. There might be things that we run up against that we can't fulfill because you picked an ERP or a WMS or a TMS that doesn't do what you're looking for. So this is, again, is where I hate to put people in their boxes, but whoever picked out your ERP, your WMS, or your TMS system needs to learn how are you doing a business process, not just needs to learn how quick can you sign and be sold this new software. What are you doing? Again, are you the right people that should be picking out the software that you're moving to? So maintenance, as we're talking about maintenance, who's going to maintain it? Are you maintaining it in-house? Is it a third party that's maintaining it? Are you asking us to maintain it? Who's maintaining this software or the setups or the configurations if an issue should arise, and how quick are they getting back to you? Do you know those answers? Do you know, like, hey, this is involving a SQL server that needs to be on the back end for this on-prem software that's doing EDI and the EDI processing? Who's maintaining SQL? Who's setting up permissions? Who's doing all those things? Never assume that the person or the EDI consultant that you're using or in-house people know how to do all those things. I always tell people, listen, my team and us, we know a lot of things. We know a lot of ERPs. We know a lot of WMSs. We know a lot of TMS systems. Are we the people that are going to support that? No. We stay in our lane. We do what we're supposed to do. We deal with EDI because, again, we're good at moving data. That's what we're good at. We're not good at setting up general ledger, accounts receivable, accounts payable, setting up healthcare claims and how they process and throughout your system with Salesforce and all of those things. We want those people that are good at that to handle that. And where we come in is, how do we automate that? How do we do little tweaks to make it a little bit better? How do we send email notifications? How do we get to being more proactive than reactive with the things that are occurring in your EDI process? Think about that. The one last things that I want to always tell people is the do's and don'ts during EDI migration. So cover the things that you need to cover. Cover the things that you need covered immediately. Get those on a priority list. Get those things taken care of. Get those trading partners taken care of, whatever it may be. The don'ts is, don't feel like you need to fulfill the wish list in the initial migration. Get it up, get it running, run it smooth, call it a wrap. Now, run for 2 weeks, a month, whatever you decide. Make sure everybody knows the process, and then start doing tweaks. Do the add-ons. Do the things that are going to make your life even better, or maybe save your company even more money. And do all of those things, the wish list. Don't have to wrap those up into the first migration. You can do those later. The do's, use somebody that knows those pieces of software, or a company like ours that can give you insight as to the different processes and products that are out there. If we're showing you different products, well, guess what? It's because I did my research. Did you do your research? Most people don't understand how to stay in their lane. I can do everything. Well, I can do a lot of things. What can I do good? Or what can I do well? Or what do I think I'm a subject matter expert at? That's EDI. It's automation, it's moving data, it's running a team that's going to be customer service focused. That's all of those things. What I'm not going to do are the things that I know I lack at. And believe me, that list is long too. My wife could give you that list. Love her, but she can give you a list of things that I'm not the greatest at. And I can give you that list too. So figure out the do's and the don'ts that are dealing with a migration, dealing with moving data, deal with all those things, and understanding if you're picking the right product for EDI, API, or picking the right product for ERP, WMS, TMS. And sometimes it's the C-level executives that are going ahead and making decisions and making choices that they shouldn't be. It's staying in our lane. You're exactly correct, Luis. Staying in our lane is a big problem for a lot of people because a lot of people feel as though they need to answer and they need to be that resource for all these companies. You don't. You really don't. You can push back and you can say, hey, listen, I'm sorry. I would love to help you there, but that's not what we do. SFTP servers. Do we know how to set them up? Yes. Do we want to set them up? No. Why? Because now I have to support it. And I have to build a whole new department. Setting up virus scanning and all those things. Do I want to do it? No. Do I want to set up your firewalls? No. Again, it's knowing where you make sense and where you fit and being able to say no. So that's what I have to leave you with. I know I jumped off topic talking about mapping and those type of things. If there's something I didn't hit in this session with you that you would love for me to hit, send me an email, shoot us a question, do any of those type of things, and I'll give you a direct response as to where I see dealing with migrations and even have a phone call with you. Because again, I always tell people, listen, you can reach out and I can deal with you and I can work through whatever you have and I can answer those questions for you. It doesn't mean you have to use us. I'm here to educate. I'm here to help you. So what I would love for you to do is follow us on here on LinkedIn, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and join our Discord group to keep learning from experts and get quick answers to your EDI and API questions. You'll see the links underneath the event details section. And as always, it's been fun. It's been real. Week number 4. Again, parents out there, hey, listen, you got to love it. You got to handle the kids going back to school. And all right, real quick, Luis, what are the top 3 gotchas when migrating? Top 3 gotchas when migrating? Make sure you have the right team helping you. Make sure you understand every piece that is moving in your current system when you're migrating from one system to another. And number 3, don't put yourself in a contract that you can't break. Because if you can't break that contract and that contract runs for 3 to 5 years, good luck. I always tell people, listen, when they ask me, how do I get out of it? Call a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I can give you advice, but I didn't tell you to sign a 3 to 5 year contract. Anyways, take care, everybody. Have a great day.